Sir, we are live now.
Okay, एक मिनट. हाँ, या गुड इवनिंग. हम लोग आज का सेशन शुरू करते हैं. हाउ टू राइट इफेक्टिव एसे. भावना का मैं शुक्रगुजार हूँ. आई एम वेरी थैंकफुल टू भावना. शी हैज स्पेयर्ड टाइम फॉर दिस इंटरेस्टिंग सेशन. She has got the 55th rank in the civil services in the examination of 2022. She got 148 marks in the essay. मैं हमेशा ही ये कहता हूँ कि आप अगर आईएएस बनना चाहते हैं, आप अगर रैंक 70-80 के अंदर लाना चाहते हैं, तो आपको दो काम जरूर करना पड़ेगा. आपका एसे में मार्क्स 130 प्लस होना चाहिए और आपका ऑप्शनल पेपर में मार्क्स 300 के आसपास होना चाहिए. उसके बाद इंटरव्यू आपको सपोर्ट करे. अगर ये आपके साथ नहीं होता है तो फिर आईएएस बनने की संभावना थोड़ा कम हो जाती है. तो हम लोगों ने काफी विचार किया. वी ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड अ लॉट कि हाउ टू हेल्प द एस्पायरेंट टू गेट द गुड मार्क्स इन द एसे. देयरफॉर we requested Bhavana to take a session. She has prepared a complete presentation on this. Therefore, I request you all to just listen it on the YouTube. Write your question on the YouTube. We'll try to moderate it and put it to Bhavana. Bhavana, over to you.
Good evening, sir. And good evening, everyone who is a part of this session. In this particular essay lecture, I would like to list out the main important points which will make your essay even more better and even more presentable. I think we can all start with the session now. First, I have tried to understand what exactly is an essay and where should our focus lie on, or what are the key points that should not be missed out while we are writing an essay, especially for UPSC. The basic English meaning of an essay is that it's a focused written composition, focused here so that we don't deviate from the topic, and it is on a particular subject. This subject will be clear to us by the title or the topic of the essay which will be given in the examination. And what should we present in this essay, whatever we are asked to write, is the ideas supported by evidence, facts, data, and then analysis on the basis of these evidences, facts, and data to support the topic and to effectively communicate whatever we want to write in that particular essay related to the topic which we want the reader to know. So these are the basic essentialities or components of an essay and what that essay should actually serve. Now, when we come directly to the structure of an essay, all of us are very familiar that essay has three main parts. The first part is an introduction, then flowing to the body of the essay, and then the conclusion. We can also say that the answer writing or an answer for UPSC also will have these three main essential components. Whereas in essay, we can say that it's a more elaborated form of an answer, consisting of around 1000 to 1200 words, which is the word limit given by the UPSC. Now, when we come to the basic structure of an essay, let me just go through what should your introduction contain. Now, introduction essentially has the background information which is related to the topic. Now, such background information which will bring out the relevance of the topic in present time, or the overall idea and the main argument of the topic which you want to present throughout your essay or around which your essay will revolve. So in the introduction itself, it would be very good if you can clearly bring out the main argument that you are going to take over in your essay, so that the reader will have an idea about what the entire essay is going to be about and how that particular essay is related to the topic which is given in the examination. Next, after the introduction can be of around 150 to 200 words. So approximately 1 to 1.5 pages. Next, we will flow into the body. Now, what should the body do? The body will essentially have around 700 to 800 words. This is going to present the analysis of the essay. Now, how are you going to analyze your essay? You're going to take up different dimensions. We will be coming to each of these points as we proceed through the lecture. This analysis that you're going to present in your body is going to rest on the facts, evidences, data, or certain news items that you might have recently read, any kind of relevant document that or government document like the budget or economic survey data what you might have referred. So any kind of relevant information what you have referred to in the recent past, and if they are relevant in this particular essay, you can make a note of it and then use them to present your main arguments. Also, these main arguments can be presented in different dimensions. The dimensions can be done in pastel approach, that is polity, society, technology, economy, law, A for arts, art or culture dimension. So this approach or any other approach which will clearly bring out the different dimensions that the essay can take will be presented in a body. Now the last main part is the conclusion. What should the conclusion effectively do is it should summarize the main points of the entire essay. And you're going to give your final statement or your own opinion on that particular topic. However, how it is going to be very relevant and how it will bring out the meaning or the essence of the topic. Next is you can reiterate the thesis. Thesis here refers to the main argument that you have presented in your introduction. Now, again, in conclusion, when you're going to reiterate the thesis or the main argument, it is going to give a sense of closure to the essay, wherein it is like you're taking the reader, giving him certain background information, mentioning the relevance of the topic, bringing them to the main argument. Then you're elaborating the main argument using facts, evidences, data, giving different dimensions, analyzing these dimensions, and finally you're concluding by giving a revision of the entire essay that you have presented. You're also giving your final statement or your opinion or any kind of solution if it is a problem oriented essay, and then you're reiterating the thesis or the main argument of the essay so that you're concluding your essay in a very standard or in a kind of the flow and the continuity is maintained throughout the essay from introduction to body to conclusion when you're following this kind of approach. So when you're reiterating the thesis, you're further stressing upon the importance of that particular topic which is given for the essay. Now, when we go through the UPSC essay syllabus, which is mentioned in the notification, UPSC clearly says that candidates might be required to write essays on multiple topics. They will be expected to keep closely to the subject of the essay. That is, do not deviate from the topic, to arrange their ideas in an orderly fashion so that the essay kind of maintains the continuity and it flows correctly, and then to write concisely so that you avoid being repetitive. So credit will be given for effective and exact expression. So the main point of essay is to test your skill of expression and communication, how well you will communicate your ideas to the reader and how good you are at expressing yourself. Now, when UPSC says that you have to write essays on multiple topics, they usually give 8 topics and it is subdivided into 2 sections. Section A will consist of 4 topics and section B will consist of 4 topics. And you will be required to select one essay from each topic for your complete paper. So this is when it says on multiple topics, and both the essays should be of 1000 to 1200 words each. Now let us come to the main point of this particular essay session. How can we write a good essay? The first thing that you should do is to make the essay framework. Now, what exactly is an essay framework? It's a rough, or it is a rough work that you're going to do for your essay. Now, once when you see the topic of essay, for example, if we take this particular topic, it says that peace hath her victories, no less renowned than war. Then, in the framework, you're going to write the simple meaning of this essay. Then, you're going to elaborate on the examples that you're going to use throughout the essay. You're going to quickly jot down the quotes that you remember which are relevant to this particular essay. Then you're also going to write down the dimensions that the body will take in this particular essay. You're going to write certain anecdotes or stories that you remember which are related to this particular topic. So these kind of rough framework has to be completed before you start writing the essay in a fair copy or in a fair manner. So this is very essential, which will help you to organize the ideas in an orderly fashion as it is required by the UPSC, and this is mentioned in its syllabus itself. So to do this exercise, to write it in an orderly and to maintain the continuity and flow of your ideas, you have to essentially do the rough work or the framework for the essay. And this is very individualistic, so it differs from one person to another person. The only main aspect to keep in mind is that you're going to write down everything that you remember about this particular topic in your rough work, so that you're not going to leave out any dimension, any example, or any quote that you're going to remember. Later on, when you're building the essay, you can choose to retain certain examples or you can choose to omit it if you feel that they are repetitive. But in the framework, do note down every single point that comes into your mind. Now, when we go to the introduction can either be started with facts or data, or with quotes, or with anecdotes. Now, these anecdotes are certain short stories or description of an event or any kind of news item that you might have read, and how you're going to use them to have a catchy and a very interesting introduction. My only suggestion is that when you're using quotes for your introduction, make sure that the question that is asked itself is not a quote. Sometimes it can so happen that UPSC can give the topic itself as a quote, which is a quote by an eminent person, or for example, all that glitters is not gold. So these kind of topics, when they give, if you start with another quote, there is always a possibility that you might end up explaining or elaborating your entire essay on the quote which you have started, which was actually to be a quote for your introduction. So in this particular case, you might miss out the essence or the topic of the essay, which actually the UPSC has given, but you might in turn end up elaborating on your own quote which you have used for your introduction. So this kind of mistakes should not happen in the final essay. So please do note and be very careful about what introduction you are going to choose, and make sure that it is very relevant to the topic that is being asked by the UPSC. Now, how do you subdivide your introduction? You can have it in 3 paragraphs. First paragraph is to captivate the interest of the reader. Like I said, the first paragraph can consist of any of these three items. So please reserve this for your first para. The second paragraph is the main argument or the essence of the essay, you can say, which you're going to elaborate in the second para according to what you have understood. So in this second para, you're bringing out the understanding of that particular topic. Now, third para is just a connector. So it is going to connect your introduction, that is the story or the anecdote that you have written, to the main body of the essay. So this will act like a connection or a linking paragraph. Like I said, the first paragraph, you can use quote, facts, or stories to make it more interesting. Now, I have just given an example from my own essay. So, in this, I have started with a anecdote. This is not even a short story, this is just a description of an event. This is when Malala Yousafzai, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, she addressed the UN gathering. Now, how is it relevant to the topic? The topic is peace hath her victories, no less renowned than war. So, here in this introduction, you can see that Malala is one of those very courageous and brave women who withstood even the terror reign of Taliban. And although she was attacked with a bullet on her forehead, she stood for peace. And then she worked hard towards women education. And now she's a role model for millions of young children. So, this kind of a relevant introduction, wherein it talks about an eminent personality, their struggles, and how you can bring the contrast between peace and war, and how you can also say that peace and the victories that peace has got is no less renowned than war. That is, the victories of peace are also important, and it can stand against shoulder with the victories that have been brought through war. So this kind of an introduction. Now, other kind of anecdotes that I have just noted is that you can talk about Buddha and Angulimala story, wherein it talks about non-violence and how uh, Angulimala, who was a violent killer and who was in fact a man-eater, so he was turned on the path of non-violence by Buddha. So this is the victory that peace has got. So it has the power to change the entire character or the personality of a violent individual. So this is one of the anecdotes that can be used. Second is with respect to any of the anecdotes from the freedom struggle of how that peace and satyagraha method was what got us the freedom, and we did not opt for war or any violent methods to bring freedom for our own country or for India. Or you can take many such similar examples which you can use it as introduction or as a first paragraph for this particular essay topic. Now, if you want to use any facts, then you can use facts which are given by UN or Stockholm International Peace Research Institute or any such agency which is renowned and who put out documents or certain relevant facts and data, which you can use it in your introduction. Now, this I have already mentioned is that don't use a quote when the essay topic is itself a quote, because there are chances that you might deviate from the entire topic itself. Now, coming to the main argument or the thesis statement, which will be a subpart of the introduction itself. Now, here I have written the meaning of that particular topic as I have understood it. So, what I have written is the success of peace over conflict or wars is no less profound. In fact, it is in fact more valued and offers an everlasting solution filled with love and compassion. This is my understanding of this particular topic. So, this I have presented it in the introduction itself. And now I'm giving an indication to the reader that the entire essay will base on this one paragraph or one statement of my understanding what I intend to elaborate in this particular essay. Now, what should this thesis do? It should explain very clearly the entire essence of the essay. It shows your understanding, what you have understood by the topic. And this particular idea runs throughout the essay and it gets expanded into different dimensions. Now, you can note that it is simple English and it is not complicated because there is no need for use of any flowery language or any complex English sentence formation. If it is simple, then you can very effectively and easily communicate your ideas to the reader, and which is in fact the main aspect of why you're writing an essay, is to effectively and use simple language to communicate your ideas or your thoughts. Now, coming to the last paragraph of your introduction. This is your narration. Now, this narration is nothing but it acts like a link between the intro and the body, or the first dimension of your body. In this particular narration, you can have a timeline. Here, I have used the technique of timeline. Now, history of mankind, it is having examples of wars, right from the War of 10 Kings from ancient India, then going to world history, crusades, then again wars between Mauryas, Kushans, Rashtrakutas, Pallavas, Cholas. You can mention any important war that you have understood and how you've seen the victories from war. Then you can compare it with the famous war of Kalinga, which made the great emperor Ashoka. And this is the victory of peace because it made him to adopt a path of non-violence. So this is a contrast that I have tried to bring in the narration aspect itself. So in this way, you can use your narration effectively by using the timeline, or sometimes you can use even evolution, like how technology has evolved or how mankind has evolved or how the society has evolved. So you can use different aspects or different dimensions in your narration relevant to the topic which is asked. Similarly, you can use historical facts also. And this contrast has been brought in because the topic itself is a kind of the topic itself has a contrast because he's talking about peace. The topic is also talking about war. So in this particular essay, I have tried to bring in the contrast everywhere, wherever it is possible, so that I'm comparing the victory of peace with victory of war. And I'm trying to say that victory of peace is long lasting because it is more compassionate. It is when you exhibit your love for fellow beings compared with the victory of war, which is more with bloodshed. So this is a contrast that I have tried to bring in the entire essay. This is how I have used introduction. In introduction, I have used a captivating first paragraph, which will engage the reader. Then I have explained the main argument or the thesis statement in the introduction. Then I have used the technique of narration to link the introduction to the body and the first dimension. Now, you might have heard that I have spoken dimension a multiple number of times by now. Let us go how to effectively write the body of the essay and which dimensions should be mentioned in the body. Now, the dimensions can be around 4 to 5, or if it is a very difficult topic or a philosophical topic, then 3 to 4 dimensions also. But every dimension should be relevant to the topic. Now, each dimension, you can treat it as a small essay in itself. So every dimension, you should make sure that it has an introduction which is relevant to that particular subdimension. Then analysis you can present in terms of facts, evidences, data, or any news item. Then conclusion for that particular dimension. And this conclusion should link it to the next dimension. This is the most important and crucial part so that it maintains the flow of the essay. It gives a feeling of continuity. And when you're reading, you don't get to feel that breaks in essay, which will happen if you don't mention this linking statement from one dimension to another dimension. Now, this is just a chart of what are the different dimensions that you can bring in your essay. And now this body dimensions will depend upon the topic of the essay. So you can't keep these dimensions in mind. And if it's a philosophical essay, if it is not having any angle from polity or law, you can as well choose to omit this particular dimension. So it depends upon the topic that you have chosen and how relevant the particular dimension will be for that particular topic. And another thing is a certain kind of topic, it might be possible that you can make around 8 to 10 dimensions, but you should limit yourself to 4 to 5, or maximum is around 6 dimensions, which are most important and most essential to bring out the essay in an orderly and a well defined manner. If you go on increasing your dimensions, then it is going to lack the depth which gives the essay, in fact, which keeps the interest of the reader. So it is going to become very superficial. Instead of that, balance the depth of your essay with the spread of your essay. Now, dimensions give the spread or vastness to the essay. What you write in the dimension will give the depth to the essay. So, balance both and select only the most important dimensions in which you feel that you have enough content to write, which can be supported by facts and data and which can be analyzed. So, these are the dimensions that can be usually done in an essay. First is polity or law, then any international relations, then history or timeline, or world history and Indian history, in which you can write aspects of freedom struggle, then technology or the evolution of technology, how man has been a very experimenting individual and how he has seen or how the technological or the engineering aspects has evolved, then economics, environment and geography, social aspects, ethical aspects, morals, values, any other philosophical codes, dimensions that you can bring in. So these are the main important dimensions that you can frame in your particular essay, especially the body of the essay. Now, how do you make the body more interesting? You've got your dimensions, you're done with your introduction. Now you're going into each dimension. First thing is what you should avoid. Avoid very complex sentence formation because it is going to lead the person away from the particular core of the essay and he is not going to understand what you've written. Or if there are very long paragraphs, then you yourself will not be able to write your thoughts in a coherent manner. So this is the first mistake what people usually do, and you should avoid complex sentence formation. Now, again, coming to the aspect of long stories, again, in your dimension, you need not write another anecdote or another small story if it is not completing within one sentence or two sentences, because that is going to appear like a story within a story, and which is not going to bring out, or which is not going to bring out the essence of the topic that you're writing about. So this can be avoided. Now, complex and irrelevant quotes which are not essential for that particular topic, false or outdated data and facts on which you're just writing some data which are not relevant to the topic and you're not able to analyze the data, then there is no point in writing these kind of facts or data. Now, I'm confused in this particular aspect whether you can use point to write your essay and whether you can use diagrams and graphs in essay. Even I don't know, but I have not written it in points. I have written it in paragraphs, and I have not written any diagrams or graphs in my essay. I have stuck to the classical essay format. Now, classical English essay format is that it is going to consist of introduction, body, and conclusion. It is going to be in paragraphs. So this is what I have stuck to. I have not made use of any of these, but few other toppers suggest that you can use diagrams or graphs in your essay. So even I'm not very sure of this. Now we have known that what we should be avoiding in a particular dimension. Now, what should we try to incorporate so that our essay becomes more better? First is the small introduction within the dimension. That can be started with authentic and credible data. When you're mentioning the data, make sure that you analyze the data. Or why are you mentioning this particular data? How is it relevant to the topic? So you're going to link the data to the topic. Third is the use of quotes. You can also use your quotes in between your essay if you find that it is relevant to that particular dimension and it is able to bring out the essence of the topic in a much better manner. Now, quotes should be verbatim. If you're quoting a famous personality, if you're quoting Swami Vivekananda, or if you're quoting Abraham Lincoln, then try as much as to quote whatever they have written, and quote should always be in double quotes. And make sure that your punctuation, your grammar is followed as much as possible when you're writing an essay, because it's a proper English written composition. Now, after you write the quote, you should explain the quote. It is not that you just write a random quote and then next you go on writing something else which is not even remotely relevant to the quote that you have written. So take some time in 1 or 2 sentences, explain the quote and link it to the topic, or why is this particular quote relevant in essay. By that way, that particular quote will blend in the body and the dimension of the body. So these aspects you should try to incorporate it when you're writing your dimension in the body for your particular essay topic. Now this I have taken it from another essay topic. Yoga for Humanity is the title. So in this, I have just given a screenshot of one of the dimensions of essay. This is the topic of the dimension. Now, every dimension, you can have a subtitle, a small subtitle like this: Resurgence of Yoga, Need and New Age Modification. This title should be relevant to what you're going to explain in dimension. So now I have used data. You can clearly say that I have mentioned the NFHS 5 survey and the data that astonishing data of 24% of men and 25% of women are being overweight. Now, how am I going to use this particular data to show that resurgence of yoga or yoga is important? Is that how this particular problem or issue of overweight has repercussions on overall health of human beings. Now, what am I doing after mentioning this data is I'm analyzing the data. How am I? This entire paragraph is the analysis of the particular data that I have mentioned, how it is leading to non-communicable diseases, and how even youth of 24 to 28 years of age are also susceptible to such chronic ailments. Now, after analyzing the data, I'm linking it to the topic, how yoga is useful. So now this, how the yogic asanas will help to reduce overweight or any of that aspect, or this solution aspect, which will be directly related to this subtopic of the dimension and also in turn to the main topic. So this is how I have used data, second analysis of data, and then solution in that particular dimension. While mentioning the solution or any part of analysis, I have used very common examples which every person would be knowing. For example, Surya Namaskar. Then again, I have used names of yoga stalwarts like PKS Iyengar, Baba Ramdev, who are very famous and who every single person would have heard these people's name, so that even they can relate to them. So don't use some remote examples which are not famous. If you're using common examples, even the reader can relate to you. Even they would have heard these names, these data, or these examples, so that the readers can relate to it and they can understand and appreciate your essay in a much better manner. Now, this will be the concluding paragraph of my one dimension. This is the most important aspect, what you should keep in mind. That is, conclusion of one dimension of your essay is like a connecting link to the next dimension, so that it maintains the flow in the essay and that continuity is observed. Now, if you can observe how I have concluded it, is that not just the physical health, yoga and mental health are also deeply related. In this preceding dimension, I have mentioned about physical health and yoga. Now, in the succeeding or in the next dimension, I want to explain about mental health and yoga. Now, in this one sentence, what have I done? I have linked the dimension which talks about physical health next to the dimension which talks about mental health. So the reader will clearly know that next dimension will be on mental health. So I can, by the use of only this one effective, concise sentence, I can shift from one dimension to another dimension without breaking the flow of the essay. Now, this is the title or the heading for my next dimension. And while writing these subheadings or these titles, you should keep in mind that you use catchy subheadings which are not very lengthy. The subheading should not be long. And these can be a quote. The subheadings can also be a quote, or the subheading can just be a phrase. So this is how you will analyze and write a complete dimension. So in this way, you can write around 5 to 6 dimensions in your body, and thereafter you can go towards the conclusion. Now, in another aspect which I would like to mention with regard to dimension is that when you want to bring depth to your philosophical essay, is that you can go for these, incorporating these aspects, that is individual aspect in your dimension, talking about the growth of soul or individual and how it can be linked with yoga or how yoga will help. Then bringing in the family aspect, linking the individual to his family or study of relations. Then the social aspect, that is man. Then next circle is his family. Next circle is his society. So how he can contribute to each circle. So this aspect, if you are able to bring in these dimensions also, then it will bring the required depth to the essay and it will make it more philosophical in nature. For example, if you're going by the same topic, then you can talk about yoga, how it's a combination of mind and soul and body, how it brings in realization of your own self, what you want to do, how you can achieve more. So that aspect is meditation also, which is an integral part of yoga, not just the physical exercise part. Then you can link the family values to yoga, or how all the body parts should work in sync. Similar, contrast it with how all the members of a family should work in sync to keep a hospitable family atmosphere. So in this way, you can also bring in the social or the country or the world dimension, wherein you can talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So when you bring in these kind of phrases, which are so commonly used in different speeches by eminent people like the Honorable Prime Minister or the Honorable Chief Justice of India, or any such phrases, terminology into your essays, then the reader will know that you're very much in touch with the ground reality or what is happening around you. So by using these kind of phrases, you can make your essay much better. And it also brings in depth to the essay. Now, having dealt with in detail about the different dimensions and how you can make your dimensions much better, we shall come to the last part of the essay, that is the conclusion. Now, conclusion, it can be written in any way or in any form that you will feel will better bring out the essence to the essay. First is summary of the entire essay, but it should not be repetitive. Now, you can also link it back to the introduction to give a sense of closure to the essay. Or you can also end with a relevant quote. You can also end with a futuristic conclusion. Or you can give a solution which you feel is appropriate. You can give your conclusion in many different ways, and which you can explore as and when you practice your essays. In this example, again, I have taken the same essay, Yoga for Humanity. This is the title of the essay which I have written. I have pasted the introduction also so that you will be able to see how I have linked. This is the conclusion of it, conclusion of the essay, how I have linked the conclusion back to the introduction. Now, in introduction, I have just given description of an event which is happening, an event which in fact happened in front of Mysore Palace. Last year, the Yoga Day celebrations, which will be held on June 21st, was held in Mysore Palace grounds. So I have just given a description. This is, of course, my own description. It is not taken in any, it's not taken verbatim from any news item or anything. I have just made up my own description based on my own imagination. So I have just tried to catch the attention of the reader by saying that, no, it is not Dasra, because Mysuru usually attracts this kind of crowd only during Dasra, but it's an important event, which is the International Yoga Day on June 21st. Now, how this event was led by the Honorable Prime Minister, and the theme was Yoga for Humanity. And this, in fact, was the theme for that particular year and Yoga Day celebrations. So what you should keep in mind is you should know the current affairs of that particular year, because this was the theme of that particular year. So, and that theme itself was given as an essay topic in one of the mock essays that I have written. So this is my introduction. Now in conclusion, when I go back to the conclusion, I have given a link. As all gear up to join the PM in yoga practice performing, these are names of asanas which I have mentioned, Anulom Vilom, meditating, everything. And to bring in the philosophical depth or aspect to that essay, I have written about the image of yogic Buddha, which comes into one's mind or into one's life. Now, how Buddha is an epitome of love, compassion, care, and humanity. And this is what yoga has achieved, because the title is Yoga for Humanity. Now, in the conclusion, I have written the title once again, which you can observe even in the introduction, the paragraph has ended with the title. So this is what I have tried to bring in the essay so that it has a sense of completion. And you will link it back to the title so that the entire essay is like a short story and it is complete. So this is how I have tried to write the introduction. This is one of the formats which in which you can write your conclusion, and it is one of the effective ways of writing it. So what you can do, in my suggestion, is you can take topics from previous year's question papers, try writing the introduction, try writing the conclusion, or do the framework for essays and keep practicing the essay frameworks. If you're not finding time to write the complete essay, then you can just practice a framework. Later on, whenever you find time, you can elaborate on the particular essay topics from previous year's question papers. So this is the complete how you can make your essay more effective. Now, just a simple small relation to the current affairs aspect and the importance of reading and analyzing the editorial is that this is taken from today's paper from The Hindu. This is a snapshot of today's editorial. Even in this, if you observe, this is an essay in itself. So, how the writer has given the background introduction and how the continuity is maintained in the entire essay and how the essay is divided into different dimensions. First dimension, second dimension, and then the third dimension. And again, if you read this complete article, how in the conclusion, how it is futuristic and how what can happen or how the international and bilateral ties are going to be observed in short and long run. So this is how it is concluded. So when you read the editorial in the newspaper, you can analyze it as an essay itself and you can try and incorporate the way or their style of writing into your own essays when you're practicing. So this is just a suggestion of how to improve your essays and make it more better. Then I have attached this complete essay as a sample for those who are interested and would want to go through one of my essays. So with this, I have completed this particular session.
Thank you, Bhavana. Let's have some question which I want to ask on behalf of these parents. पहला सवाल ये है कि लैंग्वेज का कितना बड़ा रोल है मार्क्स प्राप्त करने में?
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
So language is important, but then it should be simple. It should not be very complicated. And the sentences which are framed should be very short and simple sentences. And the paragraph also in one page, either 2 or 3 paragraphs can be made. It is not that one entire page should have one entire paragraph and complex sentences are used.
सेकेंड यू हैव एडवाइस कि लोग पहले रफ वर्क कर लें, कि एक रफ में एसे के पॉइंट्स लिख लें, उसके बाद एसे लिखना स्टार्ट करें. कितना टाइम इस रफ वर्क के लिए दिया जाना चाहिए?
Sir, if we can divide 3 hours between 2 essays, so for one essay we will get around 1 hour 30 minutes. In that, 10 to 15 minutes can be effectively spent for doing the rough framework.
आपने कोर्स, एग्जाम्पल, एंटीडोट्स, स्टोरीज की बात बहुत की लिखने के लिए. क्या ये जरूरी है कि कोर्स लिखे जाएं, पोएट्री लिखी जाए, एंटीडोट्स लिखे जाएं, एग्जाम्पल्स लिखे जाएं? इज इट नेसेसरी?
Sir, it is kind of necessary because it makes the reader like his interest will be captivated by the article that he is reading. And writing such data, facts or evidences, anecdotes, it will make that whatever you're trying to bring out in that particular essay, how relevant it is, analysis can be done much better if you are mentioning these quotes, facts or data, sir. And it should be depending upon that particular topic of essay. So it should be relevant to the topic.
एक बात और काफी लोग बोलते हैं कि अगर आपका फ्रीडम स्ट्रगल पे, पॉलिटी पे और इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन पे, इन तीनों पर अगर आपका कंट्रोल अच्छा है, तो यू आर एबल टू राइट द एसे इन अ बेटर वे. योर स्ट्रेंथ टू द एसे मे बी इम्प्रूव. व्हाट इज योर ओपिनियन? आपकी क्या सलाह है, क्या राय है?
So yes, sir, this is very certain because the essay topics from UPSC are such that they come from GS 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if a person is strong in international relations, in polity, in history, and they can very well use these examples, use quotes or use even short stories from these particular even current affairs related articles also, then it is going to help them a lot in their essay.
करंट अफेयर्स के जो आर्टिकल्स हैं वो कितने इंपॉर्टेंट हैं? जो एडिटोरियल है या एक्सप्लेन पेज है, उसका कितना रोल है एसे राइटिंग में?
So in fact, I have added an article from today's newspaper only.
Yeah.
Because that in itself is like a short essay. So if a person, in fact, reads and even he can base his style of writing on those articles which come in editorial page, then their essay writing and their understanding of the topics will also improve, sir. Other than this, sir, directly certain news articles which are mentioned in a paper, they can be used as short stories or anecdotes. The many during COVID time, whatever examples were mentioned in newspapers, that can be used in different dimensions of essay. Similarly, even Russia-Ukraine war can be used, or any of the international meetings, G20 meet, then the Prime Minister's speeches. So these can be directly used in essays, sir, as a dimension or even as in the introduction and conclusion part.
One more advice people used to give, आपका नेशनल मूवमेंट, पॉलिटी, इकोनॉमिक सर्वे, बजट, क्लाइमेट चेंज, अगर इतना आपने अच्छा से तैयार किया है तो आपके इससे बहुत अच्छे जाएंगे. व्हाट्स योर ओपिनियन?
Yes, sir, this is very true because most of the topics will have links with national movement, climate change, budget and economic survey. So these can be taken as the dimensions of the essay only. So it will help us to make the body more enriching, sir.
अच्छा, तो दूसरी एक सलाह देते हैं कि वीक में एक ऐसे जरूर लिखना चाहिए. हैव यू फॉलोड दिस?
So no, sir, I have not followed it because of lack of time. But then I have done the framework for essays. So I have not written the complete essay. I used to just do the rough work.
आपने ऐसे की रेगुलर राइटिंग कितनी बार की होगी रफली?
So for this attempt, I have not done, but for my previous attempt, I have written around 8 essays.
Okay.
This time I could write only 3 essays.
Okay.
But I did do the framework for different topics, sir.
जो लिंकिंग की आपने बात की कि कंक्लूजन में और इंट्रोडक्शन में लिंकिंग होना चाहिए, you have not mentioned the linking between the main part and the conclusion introduction. That also required?
So yes, sir, that I have mentioned by taking the example of one of the dimension, wherein every dimension will be linked to the next dimension. So that with that aspect, the dimension which is coming just before the conclusion, that will also be linked to the conclusion.
आपने जो ऐसे का दो है, एक आता है ऐसे जो आपके करंट अफेयर्स टाइप का होता है, एक ऐसे होता है जो फिलोसफिकल होता है. इफ यू सी द टू ऐसे which we have to write, तो एक तो सिंपल होता है जो आपके करंट अफेयर्स से लिंक होता है, उसको आप लिखने का आइडिया आपको लग जाता है. दूसरा जो होता है जो कि फिलोसफिकल होता है, उसमें कई बार लिखने का आइडिया में हम लिखे क्या, तो हाउ यू सॉल्व दैट ऐसे जिसमें आपको फिलोसफिकल है, कुछ समझ में क्या लिखूं, हाउ यू स्टार्ट दैट?
So in those kind of philosophical essays, when you understand that particular topic, then you can bring in many relation, or you can link it with the current affairs aspect, like what is happening on ground. For example, peace hath her victories, the first example of the essay that I have taken. It is actually a philosophical essay. So it can be converted to a current affairs type of essay by giving more examples from day-to-day or current affairs related articles, and examples from freedom movement also. So by doing that, by giving relevant examples, you can bring in the current affairs dimension even for a philosophical essay, sir. And also to keep that essence of philosophical essay alive, you can bring in depth by bringing the individualistic wars that people fight, like the war between good or bad, or what path they'll have to take, the moral path or the ethical path, or these ethical dilemmas. So when you try to bring in the aspect of ethical dilemma in your essay, that will make it more deep, and that will bring in the relevant philosophical angle to the essay, sir. So this can be tried in one of the dimensions.
कई एस्पायरेंट्स का ये कहना होता है कि हम ऐसे लिखते लिखते भटक जाते हैं. Yeah, we started the essay topic in the midst of the topic, which we so many times deviate from the main essay. How you can control this diversion?
So for this, one thing is, when you're doing the framework, you go back and you read the topics of the essay. For every paragraph that you finish, you just glance once at the essay topic and see whether whatever you've written in the paragraph or what you're going to write is actually related to the topic. Then the second aspect that can be done is that in every concluding paragraph, wherever possible, or in every introductory paragraph of every dimension, or even the connecting line, you can bring in one sentence which will take the reader back to the topic. That is what I have tried to do in the second example essay that I have given, Yoga for Humanity. So in every concluding paragraph, I have tried to bring in the topic of the essay itself. So when that is reiterated, the possibility of diverting from the topic is reduced, sir.
मेरे ख्याल से क्वेश्चन जो मेरे थे हो गए. कौस्तुभ, कोई सवाल है यूट्यूब पे? कौस्तुभ?
यस सर, क्वेश्चन है, मैं टाइप करता हूँ.
हाँ, टाइप करो. अच्छा. Bhavana, are you able to see the questions?
No, sir, I am not able to see it.
कौस्तुभ, कहाँ पे है क्वेश्चंस? कहाँ पे हैं?
Yes, sir.
You saw?
Sir, the question is, what if we do have data at hand, but by chance unable to recall the specifics, like the publishing agency or the precise percentages? How do we handle that so that the essay doesn't lose its value? It's asked by Asta Mishra.
Yeah.
So my only suggestion is that if they are unable to recall the exact specifics of that particular data or fact that they want to quote, then it is best avoided. Because in essay, when you're writing one particular data or fact, then one entire paragraph or a dimension should also be spent on the analysis of that fact. And if it is such a data or fact which they are not able to recollect, then it will not be very important one, and which the reader might also not know. So instead of spending time in writing some obscure or some forgotten data, it is advised that they write some very common data which everybody will know and about which they are able to recollect everything properly. So this is my opinion.
Yeah,
what I feel is correct.
So in short, you want to say आप कोई गलत चीज मत लिखें. If you are not sure, you try to avoid it. दूसरा क्वेश्चन एक और है, एक सवाल और है, वो है क्वेश्चन क्या है? वन क्वेश्चन.
Yes, sir. This question is from Ankita Mishra. If we are mentioning any event or dialogue from any book, should we mention the source also, like the book's name or the writer's name? Now, sir, for this, one is historical events, which most people would be aware of and which they are familiar with. So in that case, I don't think it is necessary to mention. Like stories from Jatka tales, stories related to the life of Buddha, or any story from ancient India, wherein we are not very sure of the author or from which book it is from. So in these cases, for those stories which are quite famous and which are quite common, it need not be written. But if we are quoting from a particular article or from any particular magazine like Yojana, and if we are able to remember, then it can be written, because it will add more value to your own essay. And also, whatever you write, whether it is data, fact, quote, or short story, make sure that you analyze that particular data, quote, or any other evidence or news article. If you're writing a short story, the link to the topic should be very clearly visible. It is not that I'm writing some story because I feel that the story is nice and it is not relevant to the topic. So such kind of stories or anecdotes should be avoided.
Suppose we are writing any story, we are not sure from where I have heard it. Can we write from the traditions we learned this story?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. if it is from traditions or from customs, or even for example, if you are like if you're talking about Amrit Kal, then we can say that why is it called Amrit Kal? Because according to the traditional stories that we have heard, because of Samudra Manthan, when the Devatas and the Asurs were churning the ocean, and then the period of hard work which will lead to bringing up the Amrit from that particular Samudra. So this can be written as stories from tradition or stories from Puranas. So that particular aspect can be mentioned, sir.
One more question asked by one girl, that if I'm confused to choose between two essay and one essay, how I can go ahead?
Sir, in this, what I feel is that on which you have more content and which you feel will you will not go out of ideas when you are elaborating on the dimensions of essays, so that when we are writing the essays, we don't make the essay more repetitive. In some cases, it can so happen that a particular topic of an essay can catch our mind, but when we think more about it, like when we do the rough work, we will be stuck. We will not be getting more ideas. We'll be stuck only with one particular dimension. So in that case, those type of essays can be avoided. On which topic we will get more different dimensions or different ideas, when it can be expanded into many other topics or related links. So these kind of essay topics can be chosen.
Thanks a lot. मेरा सवाल हो गया सर. It's very nice session, Bhavana. Thank you. We'll again invite you to address this parent. Bhavana, मेरे ख्याल से your training start from 29 July. Date आई होगी ना?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Bhavana. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir.
Take care. Okay.
Yes.